Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shergok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at if Ainz Ooal Gown can actually level up and will eventually be level 101, 102 and so on and so forth. And we will also talk about some peculiarities of Overlord's level system in particular. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's get on the topic at hand. Ainz Ooal Gown is one of the most powerful beings in the New World, yet the question remains whether Ainz can become even stronger by doing what Saitama has done since the beginning of his hero career. Farming experience and getting stronger. And to make it short, since Ainz Ooal Gown is already at level 100, he has reached the level cap from Yggdrasil Online, and that cap still applies in the New World. In other words, Ainz cannot simply farm experience points and reach level 101, and then continue leveling. We know this because Ainz himself admitted it, after the battle on the Katz Plains, when Ainz Ooal Gown reflected on his progress, after all the training with Godkins in the arena, and after defeating countless other opponents, he was certain that together with his remaining experience points, he should have already reached another level by now. In other words, Ainz Ooal Gown is, for now, unable to surpass his level cap of 100. However, the experience points he gains still accumulate. Even at level 100, one continues to gain experience points, and up to 90% of the points needed to, theoretically, reach level 101 can be stored. And the reason for this is simple. Just like many other players in Yggdrasil, Ainz had to expand experience points to use certain abilities or summons. For example, Ainz Ooal Gown can further buff the strength of his already mighty undead host by spending experience points, and he can summon undead up to level 90 with this skill and tactic, such as a Grim Reaper Thanatos. For comparison, an unbuffed level 70 Doomlord was able, to his abilities, to overwhelm even Platinum Dragonlord's armor in close combat, before running out of hit points and disappearing. That means, with Ainz normal buffs, that the same Doomlord would be about 20 to 30% stronger, going by the buffs we know, at least when we extrapolate from the buffs that we already have confirmedly known, from Ainz Ooal Gown's summons. To be precise, the buffs of the Elder Lich Iguva 41 that he received at the hand of his undead master. And if a level 90 Grim Reaper Thanatos were to receive such a buff, it could theoretically even surpass a level 100 player in strength. So this is a possibility to basically circumvent this system by simply stacking so many buffs and bonus experience and one-time events on top of the already base strength of 100 that you theoretically surpass it easily. And Ainz Ooal Gown can also do it in this very similar manner. In a way, he already has surpassed level 100. His level remains the same, but thanks to the massive boost his stats received when using the Staff of Ainz Ooal Gown, the guild weapon of Nezarec, that greatly amplified the power of its wielder, he is probably at least 5 levels stronger, perhaps even more. And I say this because usually a difference of just 5 levels in strength would decide a battle, and all the Floor Guardians who were present during Ainz Ooal Gown's first speech in the amphitheater in Volume 1 felt his aura of fear, even though they should technically have been immune to it, due to it being a fairly weak skill. And if even Sheltier Bloodfallen and Albedo, the strongest guardian of the floors, and an extremely defensive fighter were affected, then the bonus the staff grants should be the equivalent of 10 or even 20 levels, if not more. In other words, Ainz Ooal Gown can indirectly surpass the level 100 limit, at least in terms of stats. But there's something else I want to say, something that exists exclusively in the New World, and is capable of actually breaking the level cap: Wild Magic. And we know that the Wild Magic Ring, originally given by Platinum Dragonlord to Rigid Bear's Karoo, probably back when they fought together as members of the 13 Heroes, and who passed on this ring to Evil Eye, who then passed this on to Gazavstronov, then to Climb, and ultimately, after Climb's defeat at the hands of Renna's betrayal and of Ainz Ooal Gown. This very ring ended up in the hands of Ainz Ooal Gown himself. And we also know that a warrior like Godkins, who is himself level 100, would receive 5 bonus levels in his warrior class through this very ring. In other words, it is possible with the help of wild magic to surpass level 100, at least while being under the influence of this wild magic ring. And it gets even better. We know how Ainz Ooal Gown's perfect warrior mode, his perfect warrior spell, actually works. When Ainz casts it, his stats and levels are essentially reallocated so that they match those of a generic warrior. While this eliminates all min-maxing and doesn't unlock skills, Ainz is able, as long as the spell lasts, to play and fight as a level 100 warrior. And if he then equips the wild magic ring while in perfect warrior mode, Ainz would likely be able to gain and use 5 additional levels, as long as he wears the ring. In other words, with the help of this very ring, Ainz can indeed surpass level 100. And there's the point I've been driving towards all along. If Ainz learns to properly use wild magic, or if he gets a Dragonlord, even be it just Raudilon Auriculus or another, to cast wild magic on his behalf, then Ainz might even be able to permanently raise his level. And in the end, I want to address another matter that many of you have already asked. Why are the Godkins relatively weak compared to the players? And with being weak, I don't mean that they aren't absolutely overpowered compared to ordinary beings of the New World. After all, Gazavstronov, Remedios Custodio, or even a Death Knight or Soul Eater would stand no chance in direct combat against the leader of the Black Scripture or against Zeshi Zetsumai. Even Mare himself had to acknowledge Zeshi Zetsumai's strength. Still, neither of the Godkins are level 100, and even Zeshi Zetsumai's own father, who was the son of one of the 8 kings of Avarice, was probably also not level 100. And Ainz was able to not only defeat him easily in battle, but also force him to burn through his mana completely, and then inflict significant damage afterwards. He basically treated him like a rare Pokémon that he wanted to capture, and that might flee if he took too much damage too quickly. In other words, the Elf King, Zeshi's father, Dakem Hugin, was very likely not at level 100. And there are probably 2 reasons for this. For this mismatch in strength between players and between their offspring, the Godkins. First, they only have 50% player blood in their veins, and even that seemingly has to be awakened. This would also explain why none of Dakem Hugin's children ever became anywhere nearly as powerful as he himself was. But another important aspect of the New World that limits levels, even for players, must be the lack of strong opponents. Zeshi Zetsumai constantly seemed bored in battle and basically with everything else, showing little interest or enthusiasm, except in her duel against Mare, and her act of vengeance against her father. And the fact that the player who was a member of the 13 Heroes managed to surpass even Platinum Dragonlord, or rather his armor, despite starting out as the weakest member, probably comes down to him primarily fighting powerful beings from Yggdrasil Online, meaning he could probably level up just like he would in the game, because he was fighting the same monsters most of the time. And the New World, however, was also significantly weakened when the 8 kings of Avarice, after defeating the Dragon Lords, also drove many other people and nations to the brink of destruction, or beyond, and eradicated every strong opponent that would not easily submit. What followed was a dramatic lowering of the level in the New World on average. In other words, high-level beings like Zeshi lacked worthy opponents, and this basically as soon as they entered their 20s or 30s level-wise, which is another reason why Godkins are not simply always level 100. That said, weaker beings can still grow stronger. For example, the lizard men, who were able to quickly regain their strength once their leader were power leveled within Nezarec, or Nea, who thanks to Ainz' overpowered bow, was able to defeat many enemies that she wouldn't stand a chance without the bow, thereby rapidly gaining experience points and subsequently levels, became so skilled that she could not only hit targets with perfect accuracy every time, but even split her own arrows mid-flight, despite having neglected her archery training for a long time. In other words, power leveling is still possible. And that's why Ainz was so concerned about the slain theocracy at the beginning. There were signs that players had settled there, meaning they could have had years, decades, or even entire centuries to power level all sorts of beings. And in a sense that's true, since Slain has the strongest conventional military force. It just hasn't been fully deployed yet. Instead, the theocracy of Slain relies on its elite units, the scriptures, to carry out small commando-style operations, eliminate enemies, or assist allied nations, like the Dragon Kingdom. So that's basically my take on whether or not Ainz Ooal Gown can still level up, and how levels and experience points affect the new world, and why there's such a stark difference between a proper player like Ainz Ooal Gown and somebody like Zashi Zetsumai. And it would be interesting to see if there was a genuine level cap that Godkins can't cross, like the level of 90, the level of 80 or the level of 70, all depending on how pure their player blood is. I mean, we know that the wild magic of Draudilon Auriculus had been watered down quite a bit, because she only had an 8 of dragon blood flowing through her veins. And with that said, now it's your turn. What's your opinion on this topic and on the video? Let me know it down in the comment section. And while you type, I say thank you very much for watching, thanks to all of my Patreons for supporting this channel, and as usual, I say my special thanks to Ada Daddy Ada, ASK, Bad Guy Yee, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon S, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Din Pep, Dragonlord Placido Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feralchivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Le Louche Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Lofrazer, Merowek, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Oh Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pentum, Personage, Ruru, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Q&A Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Vang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Sonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.